2025, the GT World Challenge calendar hops more globally than ever before as Indonesia becomes the 6th country to be visited by the Asian Series, a 15th on our global calendar. Welcome to the Mandalika International Circuit. It is a pleasure to have you with us on a sunny day in Indonesia on the island of Lombok, and we are about to go racing internationally for the very first time in 4 wheels at this MotoGP venue. It is part of a global season of GT World Challenge racing. Racing 30 weekends of a year across the country, across the world, in Asia, America, Australia and Europe. And the first round of the GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup took place on May Bank Holiday weekend in the UK at Brands Hatch, with Maro Engel, the poleman, entered as Winward Racing for the Sprint Cup, sprinting into the lead of race 2 of the weekend in his Man-Filter-sponsored Mercedes. For second, Chris Lullum fought to hold second from Sandy Mitchell all the way through to Graham Hill Bend. Further behind, James Kell was spun around by Jordan Pepper, which earned him a drive-through penalty. That same McLaren, now with Arthur Rouget at the wheel, forced Isham Perez into the gravel, which caused a full course yellow and triggered the pit stops. Back under green flag racing, Lucas Auer now in the lead Mercedes, while Ben Green in his Ferrari ran wide and dropped down the order. For the overall Drivers' Champions from last year, it was once again a lights-to-flag victory. A first win for Mercedes in Europe in 2025, joining those already achieved in America. The second round of the GT World Challenge Australia on the same weekend represented good weekend for Ferrari and Audi, but BMW still slightly ahead in the global manufacturers, behind, 28 points behind Mercedes. No Ford, Aston or McLarens in Asia, so expect Corvette and Lamborghini to move up. Now with more on what to expect this weekend from a capacity field in GT World Challenge Asia, here is the man in the know, Tom Hornsby.
Welcome everyone to the tropical island of Lombok, and specifically the Mandalika International Circuit here in Indonesia, which hosts GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS for the first time ever this weekend. 34 GT3 cars have made the trip to Indonesia's MotoGP venue for rounds 3 and 4. It's the joint second largest entry in championship history, while Mandalika becomes the 12th venue to host an Asia event since our first in 2017. The 4.3 kilometre long, 17-turn circuit also welcomes international car racing for the first time, after specialising in 2 wheels and local categories since it was completed 4 years ago. Mandalika is certainly a spectacular addition to Asia's calendar, but the championship is also finally poised after the first 2 races. Bob Yuan and Liu Yi Hongli began their title defence by winning the season opener, but Origin's achievements were overshadowed somewhat in race 2 by a fairy tale result for JMR and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, whose mother, the Queen of Malaysia, was in attendance. Ibrahim leads Yuan and Yi by 2 points, but is without his regular co-driver Alexander Sims in Mandalika. Rising star Ben Green subs for the Corvette works ace. Indonesian fans also have no less than 4 of their compatriots to cheer for this weekend. Setiawan Santoso, Anderson Tonato, Andrea Anatra and reigning AM champion David Tipto Biantoro all feature amongst the 68 drivers, while the latter's Garage 75 Ferrari is the only car competing on home soil. Absolute Course's second Lamborghini, which features factory star Eduardo Mortara, was flown in especially for this event, and and Porsche Center Okazaki's recognisable bright orange 911 makes its first start of the season. But there are also further changes on the driver front, where Formula 1 race winner Giancarlo Fisichella makes his championship debut with LM Corsa in preparation for September's Suzuka 1000 kilometres. Multiple race winner Alessio Picarillo joins Origin. Thierry Vermeulen is on duty with Absolute Corsa, fresh from bagging a pole and podium at Brands Hatch. Dan Arrow heads to Volgas, and Harry King links up with Absolute Racing.
The Mandalika circuit, 4.3 kilometres in length with 17 turns. It's a pretty medium to high speed circuit with many near flat out corners. The best opportunities for overtaking down into turn 1 and turn 10 with a fiddly final sector to get you towards the finishing line. Opened back in 2021. Let's now go down to the grid with Emily. And she is with our winner from last time out, Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim.
Have Prince Jeffrey here over here, starting from P15 today. I'd like to talk about the race back in Malaysia. You had an amazing win back in Malaysia, and now how do you feel about leading this championship?
To be honest, I think, we had an amazing win there. It was a meaningful one, but right now I'm just taking one race at a time and just, trying to make the most of the race and not thinking so much of the championship. I fought for the championship in 2022 before, so I know how it feels, and thankfully this is the second time I'm leading as well. But I think, it's still early in the season. There's still so many races to go, and there's still a lot that can happen. So I think most importantly is just be taking one race at a time and try to give our 100% at all the events.
How has the team carried that momentum after that race in the victory for this round?
I think everyone has worked really hard. Right after the Sunday we had in Sepang, our heads was here straight away, and the team has worked really incredibly hard. And the gel is always, the bond is growing more and more as we do more races together. So, yeah, I think they're in good spirits. So hopefully we'll have a good day today and then a good weekend as well.
Okay then, so it's a brand new circuit, Mandalika. What are your aims for today?
To do the best I can here. It's a cool circuit, it's really nice, weather is great for now. So yeah, just trying to make the most out of it and enjoy the racing.
Thank you so much, Prince Jeffrey. Good, best of luck.
Thank you.
Prince Jeffrey with a new teammate this weekend, leading the championship by just 2 points over Leo Ye and Bob Yuan. But we'll start down on the 16th position of the grid. Actually, 15th. A bit further up the field, a brand new Lamborghini. Should have been with us in Sepang, but it took a bit of time to come across from Europe, and therefore makes its debut in the second round of the championship. And Eduardo Mortara lines up in that car alongside debutante Andrea Antra. And we are hot-footing up to Eduardo to have a chat to him in just a few seconds, because it's great to have a man that's only done a couple of races in GT World Challenge Asia before, in a Porsche 2 years ago, and then as a works Lamborghini driver now, has the opportunity to jump in a few Lamborghini GT3 cars when his Formula E schedule allows it. And this weekend, a weekend off from Formula E, allowing him to come out and play at a brand new venue for every single driver on this grid. They may have watched MotoGP over the 3 years that it's hosted the MotoGP. It also hosted World Superbikes. But no driver has ever raced at this circuit in GT3 level of competition. There's only been a couple of local races. There is a GT3 lap record set by the Indonesian championship, but that will be easily destroyed today. Let's go down to the grid with Eduardo.
So I have Edo right next to me. Hello, welcome back to Asia, and welcome to Mandalika. You've raced a lot in Asia, but first time for this year in this GT Asia series. How's the Lamborghini feeling so far?
Feeling very good. It's actually a pleasure to be here racing in Mandalika. With Absolute, a team that I know from the past. We had quite a lot of good memories, good success, and to do it now with Lamborghini, it's fantastic. I'm looking forward actually for the race the track feels amazing to drive, and so yeah, very, very happy.
You just talked about the track. Yeah, your impressions. It seems like a very fast circuit, but how was it? You had a run in the qualifying.
Yeah, as you rightly said, you have a lot of medium speed, high speed corners, and for drivers, like, it's always something you enjoy to drive on. I don't know how the race will be, but I'm expecting actually a pretty fun race.
You were in Monaco last week, and you're here in Mandalika, and then next week in Tokyo. You have a very, very busy schedule going on, but how's everything going so far?
So far, so good. Pretty happy actually to be busy right now, and things are actually going quite okay. So yeah, looking forward actually for the races like up front, and hopefully if we can be competitive, that would be great.
We'll be looking forward to your performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolute Racing with a history of running Porsches, Ferraris last year, and now back into a third brand with Lamborghini, a huge outfit that always manages to drag over international superstars to join them as well. And it was with Absolute that Eduardo raced in GT World Challenge Asia 2 years ago. He's also done a few years and become the master of Macau with Absolute Racing and their support when he was an Audi factory driver. And great to have him and various other very, very famous names. Right, let's go back down to Emily, who's with our pole sitter now.
Okay, we have Frankie Chen come through right here. He's just going to start the race now. What are your aims for today? Another pole position start for this season.
Thanks very much, and thanks to the team and provide me a really good, strong car. And also thanks to my teammates. So far, we have been quite competitive in terms of practice and qualify. And at the end of the day, you know, we try to do our best, and finger crossed, and for some good luck.
Fingers crossed for you. Thank you so much, Frankie. Have a good race.
30 degrees out there on circuit. The track, 45 degrees track temperature. So actually not crazy temperatures today. Humidity, though, very high, and we do expect storms to roll in the afternoon. They have done the last couple of days. Whether they will or not today remains to be seen. We have moved the timetable a little bit earlier to try and avoid those storms because there was absolutely impossible to drive any kind of a car during the rainstorm yesterday, which interrupted our pre-qualifying session. Which ended up only being about 15 minutes long because the rest of the session was, well, running up until the point that Climax Racing sent a Mercedes out on circuit and then race control said, no, it's a bit silly to do that. Let's red flag it, and the time went down to 0. Fingers crossed for a nice dry race where at the moment we have the silvers at the head of the field. Qualifying 1 with the silver pairings. Silver drivers obviously taking qualifying 1 and 2 with the Pro-Am pairings or Silver Am pairings or Am pairings, Am drivers in the cars. And so you always expect to see the silvers rise to the top, and that is why we have Frankie Kung Fu Cheng on the pole position, as he was in race 1 in Sepang last time out. And alongside him, Daniel Frost, who has spent most of his racing career over in America in Indy Lights, and looked to go into IndyCar, but then was called back to Singapore to fulfill his military national service duties, and so makes his return to motorsport thanks to GT World Challenge Asia in GT3 machinery. He's previously only really done single-seaters. We have onboard cameras across our grid, including local Anderson Tanotto from the Tanotto family, very famous foundation, charity, and huge business family in Indonesia. He has alongside him Thierry Vermeulen, who is making waves in GT3 racing as a bit of a protege of Max Verstappen, who was also out in a GT3 car yesterday over at the Nürburgring. And we'll be on the phone, no doubt, to Thierry today to help him along. And if you are watching, Max, welcome along to GT World Challenge Asia. Let's have a look at the grid then, and how our 34 cars line up. Pole in Am is the AMAC Motorsport 51 of Ben Porter. GT3 Silver Am for Absolute Corsa for Pro-Am, Anthony Liu, and for silver, Frankie Kung Fu Cheng. Those are our pole men in each of our 4 classes. And then the full grid. So Kung Fu Cheng and Daniel Frost alongside each other on row 1. Anthony Liu and Chen Weian, the third of our silvers on row 2. And then Huang Ruan for Absolute Corsa 29. And our near championship leaders, our champions from last year, Bob Yuan in 6th. Very, very strong there. A reminder, these are all of our AM competitors running through the grid, and they will be starting this race. We have 2 formation laps, as is customary with our Q1 and our race ones. Expect to see Chris Chai, the owner of Phantom Global Racing, improve. There's our championship leader down there in the 8th row of the grid. His brother down on the 11th row of the grid, Prince Abu Bakar, showing that car with Jordan Love. The second drivers will jump into the cars within the window of 25 to 35 minutes. The Nissan that went so strongly in qualifying 2, down in 29th position for this first race. And Earl Bamber Motorsport having a bit of a nightmare of things. Adrian De Silva last on the grid after spinning and not being able to set a representative lap time. And the Mercedes that is the second car in that Earl Bamber Motorsport garage, only a couple of positions ahead, with Setawan Santosho, another of our Indonesian drivers, in 31st position. As you would expect, our amateur entries at the tail of the field. There are 4 of them. We've got 4 silver cars as well. Shandong and Rio in the Uno Racing Audi. They qualified in 23rd position. Look out for the very pink-looking machine that Rio starts. Shandong, the slightly faster of the 2 silvers, and he will take the second half of the race. But the other silvers at the sharp end, Frankie Cheng Kung Fu, Daniel Frost, and David Chen Weian, 1st, 2nd, and 4th, because Anthony Liu there in the 37 split the field. A very, very strong bronze driver that has taken the championship victory, has 6 wins to his name. We've had 72 GT World Challenge races. 73 drivers have taken victories overall in the series since it began in 2017. And the most winningest, if that's a word, driver, Anthony Liu, has 6 wins to his name. He is the most successful driver. Shares the car this year with Dorian Boccolacci. Looks to be for the full season as well. Dorian and Alessio Picarello, who is back in the field, one of our most experienced drivers, taking victory last weekend at the Nürburgring as teammates. So second formation lap, always in race 1, to get the amateur drivers' eye in, to make them feel comfortable and warm them up. But it is included in the race time. That's why the clock has begun, and it started as the cars went over that line for the second time. So effectively like a safety car lap as our second lap, but we do go 2x2 formation for the start of this race. Only about 20 cars will be on the start-finishing line when we go green. And race direction happy to release the cars, and Frankie Cheng in the number 45 Audi takes a commanding lead into turn 1, and a great start from Anthony Liu, who slides down the inside of Daniel Frost's Mercedes. Hasn't quite managed to make that stick into turn 1. Now turn 2, not quite alongside, and this is really the pinch point of the circuit, but there is a little bit of runoff on both sides to allow cars to go side by side and to run off circuit if they need to. And still Anthony Liu now losing a position to the Ferrari. So that is David Chen sliding his way back up into 3rd position. There is the 4th of the silver cars, the Uno Racing number 16 of Rio, as they now flick their way through the very fast 7, 8, 9 complex before diving down to turn 10, which is another of the hard-braking overtaking opportunities. Silver, 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 our first 3 cars, and then the battle for Pro-Am. Anthony Liu being hassled by Bob Yuan. And Huang Ruan behind him in the first of our silver Ram cars, in 6th position in that Lamborghini for Absolute Corsa. Looks as though everybody's safely through, although we do have a slightly slow Setawan Santosho at the back of the field. And that's a real shame for the Alabama Motorsport team. Brought in Andrew Bentley to partner Setawan this weekend. Martin Berry getting a late call up to be part of the WEC this weekend. So he's flown himself over to Spa-Francorchamps. And Andrew Bentley from the UK, lots of experience in endurance and historic cars, but not a lot of experience in GT3. And it looks as though that number 8 may be coming into the pits, I'm afraid. So we lose one of our 34 machines. At the head of the field, though, all looks nice and clean. And Anthony Liu doing a really good job of holding on to our silver cars at the moment. He's given himself a little bit of breathing space between himself and Bob Yuan. One lap ago here was being really hassled by that blue and white Porsche, but now seems to have a little bit of space. Track limits is going to be a massive talking point. There are automatic sensors in the tarmac at turns 7, 8 and 9, and also there at turn 13, where Frankie Chen just ran a little bit wide. Trigger those sensors and it will automatically report track limits, and it will automatically flash up on our screens. Looks like we've had a spin down at turn 10 as well. The number 33 machine has gone around, which is the Volgas Porsche of Ming Wang Hang. So he drops to the tail of the field. Dan Arrow in that car this weekend. Not an all-Korean lineup as we saw in Sepang. Mike Joe dipping a wheel into the gravel, having to just jump on the anchors a little bit, settle the Mercedes down. And Mike in 7th position right now. And the Climax Mercedes that led so much of Sepang Race 2. Oh, that's a shame for Alabama Motorsport. The Mercedes just after one single lap being pushed into the garage. And that means no driving for Andrew Bentley for the second part of this race. Unless they can get the cars fired back up again. And we've got a car, I think, in the barriers there. And that is the number 44 machine. And I'm trying to work out whereabouts that is. It looks like at the very fast, yes, at the very fast 7, 8 and 9. That could indeed call for a safety car. The Mercedes of Climax Racing prepare for a full course yellow. An unusual place to go off. It is pretty much flat out around there and very fast. And it is Zhang Yachi who is in that Climax 44. I'm afraid has found the tyre stacks. So full course yellow, that means everybody down to exactly the same speed. The idea of a full course yellow is it allows the gaps to stay the same between two cars. But if we go full course yellow for too long, then usually race control like to squeeze the field back up. Good to see that Zhang Yachi is out of the car, because that would have been a very fast place to go off. It does look as though he has found a decent tyre stack as well to hit, so hopefully that saved the best of the damage on that Mercedes, and it's not too bad. The tyre stack will need replacing and fitting back to its original form before we can go racing. And that could indeed take us a little bit of time to do. Got a couple of laps in though before we went full course. Frankie Cheng from the lead, held on to the lead. Daniel Frost did challenge, didn't he? We saw him going down the inside at turn 10, but didn't quite manage to make it stick. And they all are very well bunched up with David Chen right behind. So let's have a look at what happened. Offline through 7, tries to rescue it, gets off the marbles, and that is a huge hit into the barrier. Wow. As we said, very, very high speed around that back part of the circuit. Oh, multiple angles, and very good effort from our cameraman to stick with it. You can see that even the tyre stack behind the barriers has moved there. Interestingly, all of these barriers are movable, as you would find in a street circuit. Every single one of the barriers around this circuit has been designed as a street circuit, originally launched as a street circuit, with the possibility of being able to turn it back into a road for which the public can use. For the moment, that hasn't been the case. There was also plans to have hotels and a shopping mall built around the circuit, and that's still in process of planning. But it does mean that all the barriers around the circuit are this sort of temporary blocks. So there is no gaps really between our top 3 cars, but once we go back to racing, I imagine we are going to have a safety car. We'll squeeze the field back up, so it doesn't really matter that the gaps are large or not. We do have a pretty decent hole because we were so early into the race. There is a decent hole between the last of our cars and then the first again. So whilst we wait, let's have a quick look at how the start played out once again. And watch Anthony Liu in that second row. Had a very, very good start. I wonder whether Daniel Frost was just a little bit slow on the uptake, because Liu was able to slide down the inside in his Porsche. Also the 29 trying to go down the inside for what would have been 4th position. But then Daniel Frost here, very strong on the outside in that Craft Bamboo Mercedes to reclaim 2nd position. That kind of put Anthony Liu off guard a little bit and allowed the Ferrari to then go round the outside of him and depose him back down to 4th position. This is what we saw from the LM Corsa Ferrari, right down in the middle of the pack. They did get really rather congested down there through turns 1, 2 and 3. They are almost the slowest turns on the circuit, and it's quite a short run from the start and finishing line into that first turn. And also a great look at how difficult the GT3 car is on its cold Pirelli tyres. Yeah, okay, we've got a decent temperature in the air today. We've got a decent track temperature as well. Our Toyota safety car is at the head of our field. We're not actually under safety car conditions yet, but it is taken up its place, ready to be a safety car. Actually, what happens is it is able to go faster than when you're under full course yellow. Gets the cars back up into temperature, so the drivers can then work the brakes harder, work the tyres harder, and especially for these AM drivers, find themselves in a much more comfortable position. There's the Uno just going through shot there, the Uno number 16, which has made it 7 places up from its original start position down in 23rd spot. So a really good start for Rio. And that sets Sean Dong up for a really good second stint then, because we do know that Sean is very, very good. And Rio not having a fantastic qualifying session and proving that he's faster than where his qualifying allowed him. We had 13 laps disallowed during qualifying for track limits, and that certainly slightly shuffled the pack, and one would suggest that that number 16 pink Uno Racing Audi was one of the cars that was penalised. Just behind is Ben Porter in the AMAC Motorsport 51, who did the whole of Sepang on his own because Andrew McPherson was ill. on the Thursday of the event. And so back now with his teammates. He'll be handing the car over to Andrew for the second stint. And they lead at the moment, well, strongly in AM, ahead of the other two cars that we have left, because of course we've lost an AM car into the pits already. Leading Pro-Am is the Anthony Liu, number 37, in 4th position. And now we do go into safety car. So now you'll see these cars all speed up and all the gaps close. And actually there is a little bit of movement with the number 44, I think. Well, certainly on the tracker there is. So they are working on getting that car removed out of the tyre stack, but as I said, the more important thing is that that tyre stack is then put back into its correct position. And if the barriers have moved, and of course not something you would usually expect on a racetrack, but with the temporary nature of the barriers, if the barriers have moved, they will need to be put back into position as well. There's a car we haven't spoken at all about so far, the number 4, Origin Motorsport. Didn't really see them in qualifying at all, did we? But Lu Wei with Alessio Piccarello this weekend alongside him. Took a 10th in race 2 in Malaysia, but with that turn 1 accident where we had a little bit of bunching and they were eliminated from that, it kind of put Lu Wei and Bastien Bus on the back foot. On board with Goji Zen, the 500. Very, very strong in the hands of Kunimaru in qualifying 2 this morning. The moment sits pretty way down the order with Motoki down in 28th position. But we can expect to see that car make its progress up through the field. So lovely to still have Godzilla in the field. Not so many Nissan Nismos racing in global GT3 racing any longer. I think I counted 13 different GT3 cars that are still eligible for GT3 racing. That includes 2 different types of Porsche. Let's not forget that the AMAC Porsche is a different spec to the rest of the field's Porsches. The rest of them are 992s, whereas the AMAC is still a 991.2. So it's coming to the end of its homologation phase. And the oldest of those cars homologated is the Audi. First homologated back in 2015. Yes, there has been Evo packages bolted on, but that car has been in GT3 racing for 10 years. So cars all bunched up, giving the race control team a bit more time to have a look at the barrier between each lap. Although a safety car now going slightly faster than if we were under full course. So this is a good opportunity actually to really get a feel for the challenges around this circuit. And when we're on board inside a car, you can see just how much more sinuous that part of the circuit. We've just gone through turns 7, 8 and 9. How much more of a challenge that is than it appears to be from the exterior cameras that we have out around the circuit. It really is a proper right, left, right. Almost a flat Eau Rouge. If you were to put the gradient in there, it wouldn't be dissimilar. It would be the other way round. No, it would be the right way round as well. No, it would be the other way around. It's flipped. But some of the drivers telling me earlier on that there is corners such as this one, this is turns 13 and 14, that are sort of flat out in perfect conditions. But they are really not when you're preserving the car. Great news, we can go down to Emily, and she's got one of our most celebrated drivers, Giancarlo Fisichella.
Yes, I do have Giancarlo right next to me. Lovely to meet you, sir, and lovely to have you here in GT Asia. How's the race and the atmosphere been so far?
Yeah, it's great. It's my first experience here in Asia. It's just great to drive around this circuit, and also the atmosphere is perfect. So I feel very comfortable, and I hope to do a good result today.
Yes, you're convinced. We are all looking forward to. Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Great to have Giancarlo Fisichella with us. So great that he's taken the time to speak with us as well. 3 Formula One victories to his name, multiple championships in GT3 racing since. And Giancarlo, one thing I didn't realise is part of the nobility family Fisichella, which is a very noble family name in Sicily, in the very southern tip of Italy. And one of his cousins from that noble family name is the Archbishop, basically, of Italy. Who knew that? We are going to go racing once more. Safety car in this lap, says race control. Lights will go out very shortly. A couple of corners left before the Toyota will turn off its lights, and then we will go back, and then it will sprint off, and it will leave Chen Kongfu in control of the pace of the field. Pace is quite high actually at the moment. The cars are well spread out. So the Toyota Supra heads back to pit lane. That's good news. It means not massive repairs needed for the barriers over there at turns 7, 8 and 9, and now the pace slows down. Over 60 race starts in GT World Challenge Asia. Chen Kongfu, Frankie Cheng, the most experienced man on the grid, and he's gone nice and early, really caught Daniel Frost napping. Frost has done many a safety car start in his IndyCar world, but now we go back to a green flag. We're not yet green flag racing. You're not yet allowed to overtake until you come around this final turn and over the finishing line, which is there. And we can now go back to green flag racing. And the front 3 silvers have got a little bit of a gap over Anthony Liu, who certainly is going to be under pressure into turn 1 from Bob Yuan. No changes in the top 3, side by side for 4th position. Is Bob Yuan trying to go around the outside of Anthony Liu? It may work for him, because at this next corner, yes, he has. He's made it stick even before turn 2. Great work from our champions from 2024, fighting with our champion from 2023. And that is also a change for the lead in the Pro-Am category. Only a couple of minutes before the pit window will open and allow the Am drivers out of the car. So they really want to get a wriggle on now and get some racing laps, having spent so much time behind that safety car. For the silvers, for our front 3, the strategy could be a bit more split, a bit more mixed, but certainly the Ams, they'll be wanting to get their pros in as quickly as possible. Not too much damage done, not too many big gaps, so we're really going to have quite a fraught battle in the second half of the race with our pro drivers jumping in to those Pro-Am machines. Also has meant that our silver class cars have not been able to make the advantage that they would usually want to make. Forget that all silver pairings have an extra 7 seconds in the pit stop, and they needed racing laps to create that 7 seconds, and they haven't had them. So we are going to see the 45, the 77 and the 96, the front 3 on our track right now, drop back into the pack. We also have success penalty for the 99 Corvette, the 31 Mercedes and the 45 Audi has 5 seconds. So the 45 Audi has 7 seconds from being a silver, and then another 5 seconds. So it's going to drop way down in the field. Because look, they are all still so bunched up. Hardly any space between them all. Number number 55 drops into the tail of the field, so there's been a problem for Louis Hangcheng. He'll be handing that car over to Lorenzo Petresi, who qualified on the front row this morning. So massive work for Lorenzo to do as Cao Chi looks up the inside in that 31. And they're way down the field as well. Huge work for Jaden Ajeda to do in the second part of this race. Trying to get past Li Zhuangyu for 12th position. Manages to make it stick, sends a couple of other cars scattering, but that was a really aggressive move from Cao Chi. And you have to say, it looks as though, oh, and actually round with a puncture, the 55 has gone down at turn 10. So maybe Lorenzo Petresi won't even get a chance to drive the 55. That's a real shame. No other cars over there, but that puncture surely came from contact with something. And will we get another interruption? We've only got 8 seconds remaining before, in theory, the pit window opens. And we've got the leading cars coming down to that position, with that 55 car still parked up on the outside of the circuit, off the racing circuit, I think. And in fact, yeah, not in our camera shot there. I think he's to the right of that camera shot. But they all go sprinting past. And we do have a full course yellow about to come in, and we also have the pit window open. So we are going to see a very, very, very busy pit lane. Thankfully, this Mandalika circuit with enough space for 50 pit garages, and it has meant that our teams are all spread out along the 50 pit garages and shouldn't cause too much congestion. But that's really a big shame for Lorenzo Petresi. He won't get a chance to show what he can do in that 55 Ferrari as Louis Hangcheng walks back to the pits. I think we're going to have every single car into the pit lane right now. Usually race control like to try and shut the pit lane or delay pit stops during a full course yellow because it's such a conventional thing to do. It makes much more sense to come into the pits. Now, pit stops are basically all timed, so the Pro-Am cars should all come out exactly as they went in. But don't forget, the silvers are going to drop back, and those with success from our previous round will also drop back. So that's the 31, Jaden Ajeda jumping aboard that car, the 45 and the 99. Well, with 99, didn't really make up much ground, did it, in that first little stint? Not much of a chance to. So 16th position for Prince Jeffrey as he comes in, and with all the cars all very bunched up as well, they're going to really have a lot of traffic in the second half of the race. Ben Green is going to have a huge amount of fun trying to get through. Now, not everybody has pitted, surprisingly. We do have a couple of cars out on the circuit that haven't. The 46 and the 31 are the two that haven't. Anthony Liu there, or Dorian Boccolacci, being held in the fast lane. And so, yeah, the 46, which is Bao Yinglong, not pitting. Presumably the team suggesting that it's too congested for them down there. And also the 31, the one car with that success penalty from race 2 in Sepang, Cao Chi, also staying out. This is absolutely going to reshuffle the pack. Adrian De Silva has also stayed out into circuit, so 3 cars not pitted, and the rest of the cars have pitted. Race control have said they are not going to go to safety car until all cars have pitted, but maybe they don't want to under this full course yellow. Maybe they want to have the opportunity to do something a little bit different. Should somewhere have how long everybody's been in the pits for. As the Indonesian team, number 75, Garage 75, leaves the pits. Giancarlo Fisichella in the car behind, in the number 60 Ferrari. Looking forward to seeing him making his way up through the pack. So Dorian Boccolacci has lost ground in that pit stop. We saw him being released and then being held. He should, all things considered, be in front of the 87 of Li Ye, because that was how it was before the pit stop, unless I am getting myself confused. All of those two should have jumped the silver cars for sure, because the silver cars have a 7-second penalty. And now the 46 and the 31 come into the pits, and we expect the 61 to follow in shortly. Has that helped them at all by staying out a lap later? Certainly not very congested down there. But I wonder also whether Craft Bamboo in the 77 have taken their silver penalty, because they're in second position, and that's kind of surprising considering they were up in second position before the pit stop, and they should have been around the same track space as the 45. 45 is in fourth, but the 77 has jumped them. So we're going to keep this full course yellow. 55 car, according to the tracker, is still now being moved. Okay, so they are doing that recovery. And this okay, so we do have the numbers, and it does seem as though that 77 car has been 7 seconds slower than the cars around him. So that could well be right. Leo Ye in the 87, our leader. Second, the 77. The silver entry of Liang Jiatong. And then in the number 2, Ralph Aaron. They've had a great pit stop. They've really jumped up the order in the Climax Racing. I'm pretty sure we checked in with them in 7th position, didn't we? They are second spot with Boccolacci in 4th behind. Boccolacci definitely slower. That's what I need to do. Find that timing screen that tells us about the pit stops. That would be very useful. Once again, when it all shuffles out, Leo Ye finds himself at the head of the field. They are so strong, Origin, at just being able to find themselves in a strong position. They won the first race in Malaysia. They got 5th in the second race, scored really good points to put themselves only 2 points back from the number 99 JMR. Just in the background, we are still recovering that Ferrari. So such was the congestion in the pit lane that not very many people did sort of a pit stop that would be considered correct in terms of time. And I'm afraid Giancarlo Fisichella's pit stop was over a minute longer than it needed to be. So they obviously had some issues down there at LM Core. So that's why we saw them leaving at the tail of the field. But it obviously got a bit messy down there. What about Anthony Liu's pit stop? Yeah, they were 4 seconds slower than they needed to be, and that is why Boccolacci has found himself a little bit further down. Whereas a really good stop from Mike Joe, handing over to Ralph Aaron and putting Climax up into 2nd position. Andrew McPherson now aboard, our leader in AM. 12th position, he's been handed the car in. So that is now for him to try and hold on to that in the second half of the race. But Pearson has the likes of Harry King, Jaden Ajeda, Jordan Love, Thierry Vermeulen, Eduardo Mortara down in 21st, Ben Green in 22nd, Dan Arrow in 23rd. All these drivers behind Andrew McPherson. And we are almost certainly going to bunch the field back up and have a safety car restart again. There is the Toyota safety car. So, yeah, that is confirmed. And Andrew's going to have to really be careful and look at his mirrors in those first couple of corners. There's Rio. Doesn't look like he's worked very hard, does it? I mean, it is 30 degrees out there, so even just sitting in the cars is hard work, let alone actually racing. But he's handed that car over to Sean Thong, and we should see Sean also move up through the field. So safety car conditions now, cars get up to speed. And I wouldn't be surprised that we will go racing pretty quickly after this and try and get some racing laps on the board. A reminder of who is now in the cars. Bob Yuan in the 87 has handed over to Leo Ye. So some of the drivers have not yet changed their driver ID, and that is why the graphics don't yet show the correct drivers. We've got Liang Jiatong in the 77. He's taken over from Daniel Frost. Mike Joe is handed over to Ralph Aaron in the number 2 in 3rd position. Anthony Liu handing over to Dorian Boccolacci in 4th. In 5th position will be Andy Dung Yi. He's taken over from David Chen. And then Akish Nandi in the 29. Alessio Piccarello is in the number 4. And then Daniel Yu in the number 8. Yu Kwai. Marcus Winkelhock in the 46. I reckon that actually worked out for the 46. Leaving their pits 1 lap later, I think they jumped quite a long way up the order there. Winkelhock tucked up behind his teammate Daniel Yu in the Audi Sport Asia Team Phantom. Watch out for Maxine Hussein in 10th position. Wow, that has been a very good first run. Team KRC started in 23rd spot. Max will start this second race in 10th position. And drivers now getting their correct names on the list, so that's all as it should be now. There is a quick look at the sky, which every day about this time starts to turn that colour. And much like we predicted, and the reason why we started earlier was because it's coming. Hopefully we can get the 22 minutes out of the way before it comes, because when it comes, it really, really does hit with force. 3-2-1, Daniel Liu in 11th position. Sean Thong in 13th. Harry King, the supercar, Porsche Super Cup runner-up from last year, in 14th spot. Jaden Ajeda, winner last time out, 15th spot in that number 31. Jordan Love in 17th. Thierry Vermeulen in 19th. Eduardo Mortara, 21st. Anders Forbach just ahead of him. Pros scattered through our 30-car field, and it looks as though we are soon to go racing. Safety car lights out on the top of the Toyota Supra. It will make its way back to pit lane, handing over control to Leo Ye, who had to do this in Sepang. silver driver. Jaitong Leong in second position, then Paul Aaron, who'll be snapping at that 77 car's heels, and Dario Boccolacci, such a star in Okayama when he made his debut last year in GT World Challenge Asia, now a Works Porsche driver in the Asia Pacific region, and he is in fourth and ready to go racing. That was a great start though from Leo Ye, has himself 2 or 3 car advantage going into turn 1, and already aggressive move from Picarello down the inside of Akishnandi and up into 6th position. Watch that purple Porsche fly. Looks like Nandi taking a little bit of time to get up to speed. James Yu crawling all over his rear wing. Actually, Marcus Winkelhock not being able to keep up with him. Winkelhock looks like he's looking into his mirrors more than anything else. And through this very fast 7, 8, 9 section. Looking further back for any changes. That's the Absolute Corsa Ferrari, blue and yellow, zigzagging around. Thierry Vermeulen trying to make progress further up the field though. Boccolacci trying to make progress as well, side by side with Ralph Aaron, who has to elbow his way down the inside of Jaitong Leong. Now it's 2 by 2. Here comes Picarello. How much is he going to pick here? Down the inside of 1, 2 cars. Picarello's on the grass. He comes back on to the circuit, keeps the car facing in the right direction, but he's going to lose positions again. Couldn't work out who is elbowing who there. Liang's lost positions, and Aaron and Boccolacci have moved themselves up. But they are 4 seconds behind Leo Ye now, with all of that fighting. Somehow, we didn't have a massive accident there. Picarello down the inside, very aggressive, of Andy Dung. Couldn't make it stick through turn 2. And now looks again through this fiddlier section. Nothing doing through here. And now you need to put your brave pants on through this fast 3 right-handers. It's flat out, pinned to the floor. And then finally the circuit goes left and right again to finish off a wonderful flat-out section of this Mandalika racetrack. Space then, as Picarello's not found a way through past Andy Dung for 4th position. Went aggressive at turn 1, and then there is no other real opportunity. We're seeing that same thing happening for 7th position. Daniel Yule behind Akishnandi. Jaden Ajeda up to 13th position. Couldn't actually see where Jordan King's still ahead of them. And Jaden Ajeda towing around his fellow countryman Jordan Love. As further back, the Uno Racing silver car of Sean Thong down in 23rd spot. Right, how much time have they taken out of Leo Ye on the last lap? No, they haven't. Ralph Aaron losing 0.3 of a second to Leo Ye. This could be another Origin win. Moves going on further back there. I think that might have been Jordan King looking for 11th position on Daniel Yu. Did it happen? Yes, it did. The cars go through shot there. And King trying to keep up with Usain, a debutant in GT World Challenge Asia. Jordan King absolutely dominated Porsche Carrera Cup GB back in 2022. And then since moved up to the Super Cup, and every year improving. Hasn't got the championship yet. But great to have King here, replacing in that 911 machine Patrick Pilet. Battle for 4th position then. Dongyi in the Ferrari. Picarello fired it down the inside at turn 1 a couple of laps ago, but hasn't been able to find any space since then. And because of that, Aaron and Boccolacci have checked out. There, though, is our leader. Was 4.5 seconds the gap. It's now 4.6 seconds. unbelievable performance from Origin. And yeah, he is fast in the second and the third sectors of the lap. The Nissan is the fastest through sector 1. Unfortunately, the Nissan has had a stop-go penalty for being too short at its pit stop. So not a happy day for Team Go GZN. They'll be looking forward to tomorrow, where they start right at the sharp end. Picarello's now managed to get past Dong Yi. And actually, Boccolacci's only 2 seconds up the road. So let's see how much time Picarello can take out of Boccolacci and Aaron. At number 4, as you say, taking a 10th position in race 2 for Lu Wei. Oh, very lurid moment there for Absolute Racing's Daniel Liu in the back of shot. 12th position he was. Has he lost any positions dipping his wheel in the gravel? Not sure. He has, actually. It was just lurid. Jordan Love in the number 66 behind him. There's progress being made by Vermeulen and Green, 17th and 18th now. Max Hussein looking up the inside of Marcus Winkelhock. Hussein was the star in Sepang, wasn't he? That BMW did such a stunning job. An overall 3rd position in race 1 and 4th in race 2. And for the moment, yeah, the gain was huge in the first part of the race. Massive amount found in not very many racing laps. But Max 2nd now in Silver Am. Up 11 spots in total. Marcus Winkelhock, though, is ahead of him. Nice person to follow, to be fair. Although he looks like he could probably get past in his BMW. Just 2 BMWs on a grid with 8 different brands of car. As I said at the top of the show, no Aston Martin or McLaren, but we do have the Nissan here, which is great to have. Oh, this is going to be improvised down the inside. Was there a little bit of contact there? I think there might have been. And Marcus Winkelhock getting elbowed out the way. And here, coming around the outside, is Harry King, trying to take advantage of both of them. King miles off the circuit, and actually, I think doing what he was supposed to do there, rejoining through that lane. But has he gained an advantage by doing so? I wonder whether he has. Marcus Winkelhock then running wide, and I'm not sure that Audi is particularly happy from its elbow. There was something that went flying. It might have just been a door mirror, but Max Hussein just checking his BMW for damage, zigzagging left and right. Race direction, might have a look at that as round the outside goes Jordan Love on Daniel Yu for 12th position, that is. Progress being made. Really, really good to get that Corvette into the points. 13 minutes still remaining. And a drive-through penalty for the 2nd of our BMWs, the number 5, Team Stude, for speeding in the pits. They're down in 24th position, so not a particularly happy day once again. When you compare it to the starring performance of Team KRC, up there in 9th spot. Yeah, Sean Thong not making up as much ground as perhaps he would be expecting here. Dan Arrow just ahead of him. Another debutant in our series. But there is the leader. 5.4 seconds to the good. Liu Ye showing that he is absolutely equal to some of the best drivers here in the world. Carrera Cup champion in 2022. China Touring Car champion in 2018 as well, it was Liu Ye. And 5.3 seconds now, the gap with Ralph Aaron. Aaron seems to be comfortably ahead of Boccolacci, 1.3 seconds to the good at the moment. And they also, maybe Boccolacci is losing a little bit of time to Picarello. That gap is only 1.2 seconds now. So Picarello doesn't fancy settling on 4th position and would like to add another decent finish for himself and Lu Wei. More points than they've scored this year. This is Picarello's 45th race start. He's been almost ever present in the championship across the years. He hasn't completed all the seasons because of other international commitments, but we have seen him participate in almost every year. He was 2nd overall in the standings last year, having driven for Absolute and Craft Bamboo with Anthony Liu in 2024. Now with Wei Lu. Right, now this is a battle for the Silver Am lead. Intermingle there with Daniel Yu. Sorry, James Yu. Getting up my Daniels and my Jameses mixed up. Yu Kuai in the 45 machine. Happily 3rd in silver, I suppose, so don't have to worry too much about this, but Max Hussein fancies himself another victory in Silver Am. They were victorious in both race 1 and race 2 in that class in Sepang, with Akish Nandi just ahead of him. Twice 2nd in Nandi's home country. So roles reversed for the moment, but can he hold on for 9.5 minutes in the Lamborghini? We haven't seen where Eduardo Mortaro's got to. Up to 16th position. So progress being made by the 2nd of our Lamborghinis. That's a little bit ambitious from Max Hussein into the final corner. Definitely not really an overtaking spot. It reminds me a little bit of the last corner at Laguna Seca, that one. It's really big stop and a sort of defensive move here from Akish Nandi, but he didn't go hard enough. And there is a nose down the inside, but keeps the door shut going into turn 2. Forced him to go round the outside, but that's the inside for turn 3. And now they go side by side, and James Yu Kuai thinks about having a go, but there's no places gained there. Harry King needs to be really careful not to get too involved here. King goes really wide through 5, and somehow through all of that, Max Hussein has managed to overtake. But was he off the circuit when he did it? A feeling that he was. Race control will be looking at that, and it's invited Harry King to the party, who dives down the inside of James Yu Kuai and takes that position up to 10th overall, 9th overall then for Harry King in that 911 machine that was started by Woan Xiongwei. Another of the Absolute Racing stable. Jordan Love is there now as well, so he can be picking up some points. And Love towing Marcus Finkelhock along with him, who has dropped out of the points. And here comes Jordan Love. Is there any space down there? It's a tricky place to overtake because you're kind of braking and turning at the same time. Harry King trying to go around the outside again of Akish Nandi. And now you see, this is where Nandi is thinking about class rather than overall, because doesn't defend to Harry King. King goes down the inside. Oh no, and wasn't really quite alongside enough. And so Nandi gets himself spun around, and I think he's also now going to lose 2nd position in silver from that contact. Side by side, Harry King and James Yu Kuai off onto the gravel. It's all getting rather feisty, isn't it, between our pros? Was that Finkelhock going off again? Yes, it was Finkelhock going off again. So he loses 2 more positions. And here comes Jaden the Jada in that 31. Oh, poor race control. There's going to be so much to try and work out what's going on here. More contact They really are getting feisty. That's Edo Mortara elbowing his way past Marcus Finkelhock. What did Marcus do wrong to everybody? Why is he being bullied today? Penalty for car 18 for causing a collision. But that car is... Where's car 18 in the field? That's not something we've seen of the Porsche Center Okazaki cars. And Marcus Finkelhoff off track again. There must be damage to that car. Yeah, Marcus bringing the 46 into pit lane. One too many contacts, I think. He was wrestling a beast that really could not cope. And Nandi drops to the tail of the field as well. So I was just saying that he just needs to be conscious now of his class and not be punted around. And Akish turning in over the nose of Harry King and getting spun around. So unfortunately dropping out of another easy second position. 5 minutes remaining. There is our leader, Leo Ye. 5.5 seconds to the good. Still keeping on pace with our pros at the head of the field. Ralph Aaron comes through shot. Boccalacci comes through shot. And Picarello still fighting. Now, they are going to love this. If they have an opportunity to go side by side, Boccalacci and Picarello are going to put up a real show. Last weekend, they were teammates at the Nordschleife, and they got themselves a victory in NLS2 as teammates in a Porsche, and now they are in separate teams about to be on the same part of the circuit. This could be very interesting, and there's time to do it. 4.5 minutes remaining. Boccalacci, the young pretender from France. Picarello still pretty young, but an old hand in Europe in Asian Porsches. With Origin this year, as I said, race for Absolute before that. Will he find a place to overtake? I wonder where he's managing to make the gap as the 3-2-1 of Daniel Liu retires. That was another car that we saw off the side of the circuit a couple of times. He's pulled that car off. I think that's a pretty safe space. There's Mortara, 13th position with Ben Green behind him in the 99 that took victory in race 2 in Sepang in the hands of Alexander Sims, but Ben Green with that penalty, of course, the car having to spend extra time in the pits and under safety car procedure, or under full course yellow procedure, that really penalised them much more than it would have done had they been green flag racing. So extra work for Ben Green to do. They sit half a minute back from the leaders. It's the battle for 9th position. Forget that Lamborghini with Eduardo Mortara barely turned a wheel before this weekend, shipped directly here to Mandalika so that they could participate rather than to the Absolute Racing workshops and then over here. There wasn't the time to do that, so they have done a very good job, both Lamborghini Corsa and Absolute Racing, Absolute Corsa, to have that car so reliably run, and Eduardo seemed like he was enjoying it too. Out of the points at the moment, though, in 13th. And look how tight it is now for 3rd position. They've got a back marker ahead of them as well, and that is Andrew McPherson, who is, really falling back, unfortunately. So out of the lead of Am, and that just slightly compromised Picarello a little more than it did Boccalacci, and Picarello having to run off the circuit there. There's going to be an investigation into that 911 contact with car 16, with Harry King knocking the 46 off the circuit. And there is our new leader in AM. Elegant Racing. We didn't really see them at all in Sepang, but they are doing themselves a really solid job with Reinhold Renger, the GT4 champion from 2018 when there was GT4 cars and GT3 cars in GT World Challenge Asia. He was a GT4 champion. Great to have him back, and even greater to see that car at the head of the AM field. Gives us an opportunity to jump on board the 500 and see Kanemaru at the wheel. Looking forward to seeing that car tomorrow in our second race as they go down the inside with just 50 seconds remaining. That is a change of position for 24th spot, but it doesn't really affect Reinhold Renger very much at all. Coming through some of the final turns then. We are going to get one more lap out of this race for Liu Ye, but what another drive from this young Chineseman. He really, really has starred in race ones, both in our last round in Sepang and also here. Fastest lap of the race, a 28.7 from Origin Motorsport, from Porsche. It was always going to be strong Porsche circuit. We're seeing that with Boccolacci and Picarello. But those two are nearly 10 seconds back from Liu Ye. It's just a shame that Bob Johan didn't get as much of a run as he would have liked. There's Ralph Aron. Mike Joy doing the work at the start of the race. They didn't finish either race in Sepang, even though they were at the sharp end of both. So this will be a really nice feeling to get themselves on the podium and get a good haul of points for Climax. Through goes the two Porsches. There is Andy Dung. And then another star of this race has to be both Max Hussein, but also Ruan Chungfan, because that first stint, in only a couple of laps, they did such a good job of picking up massive amounts of places, and Hussein has cemented that as well. Round the final turn, Bob Yuan started this car. Liu Ye once again extended the lead in stint 2 and takes victory, the second victory of the season for Origin Porsche. Over the line in second, Ralph Aron, Boccolacci in third, Picarello not managing to get himself a podium in fourth, and the best silver is Harmony Racing's 96 of Andy Dung, with another victory for Silver Ram going the way of Team KRC BMW. And the flood of international pros come across the line as they all continue to sort themselves out right to the flag. Jaden Ajeda getting himself 10th position at the end of the race, and that could well be significant. There is our AM winner, Reinhold Renger. Third position in our second encounter in Sepang, but a victory in AM over the Indonesian Ferrari just behind. Christian Colombo finishing that car. But once again, Origin have done it. And once again, it was Liu Ye who has really starred. Clean track definitely helped. No squabbling with anybody else, and we did see that bit of fracas happen with Ralph Aron and Marcus Finkelhock and a couple of others, and that really allowed Liu Ye to give himself a bit of breathing space. But he did continue to build the lead. He continued to put time in Ralph Aron and Doran Boccolacci. In silver, Winier Harmony Racing. They will be very, very happy to pick their first silver win up of the year. Remember, they got caught up in all kinds of shenanigans in Sepang. They were second in silver behind that car. Silver Ram, sorry. And another Silver Ram victory for Maxime Hussein. I think there might still be some investigations necessary. There's certainly a lot of things happening. I'm looking forward to having the replays of some of the incidents because it was pretty mad at times. Race Control have a couple of incidents still to tick off their list, namely for car 911. The Absolute Racing Harry King is being investigated. But for the second time already this year, usually most teams only win 2 races a year in GT World Challenge Asia. But Bob Yuan and Leo Ye have already done that. 5 victories in total in the championship now for both Bob Yuan and Leo Ye. 2 victories last year, 2 victories this year. And that puts them within striking distance of Anthony Liu. They definitely are the Porsche to beat. And that combination working so well in these first races. The outright qualifying pace of Leo Ye doesn't allow him to be as super strong in the second races, but Bob Yuan always sets it up so nicely for him in these first races.
Congratulations, thank you.
And the rest of the field will be looking at the pace and just going, how was he able to do that? Especially Boccolacci, who has the same car as Leo Ye. They're both in Porsches. And you just go, I should have been able to keep with him. Especially at a new circuit here. There's no sort of secrets. Maybe there is. Maybe Emily can tell us. Is there a secret to the success of Leo Ye?
Leo, what a run. We know you were fast, we know you were strong, but you showed it once again this season. Congratulations.
Thanks. Actually, we are not that fast this weekend. Really thanks to my teammates. He put the car in P1 for me. So again, like last race, I just need to run away. But yeah, it's a shame tomorrow we start behind because my quality was shit. So yeah, but the race shows we have pace. It's good. Yeah, thanks to my engineer as well.
You say you're not fast, but you had the fastest lap.
Yeah? Yeah, but they were fighting probably.
Well, anyways, congratulations. We'll look forward for your performance tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's always so annoying when you're another competitor and you hear the winner of the race saying, wasn't really very fast. Everyone else is going, well, you won. And yeah, quite right. He had the fastest lap of the race. He stretched his advantage over Boccolacci, who was in the same car, to nearly beat him by 10 seconds. And yes, it's true, there was a little bit of fighting going on at times, but really, Boccolacci, Ralph Aaron, and Picarello were absolutely flat out. What was Picarello's best lap? You see, Picarello was nearly 4/10 slower as best lap over Leo Ye. Another strong performance from Anthony Liu. Thanks to Dorian Boccolacci as well. It's another podium for Anthony. Whichever team he's in, whatever car he's in, whether he's in a Mercedes with Craft Bamboo, a Porsche last year with Absolute, or this year with Phantom Global Racing, Liu can still perform, and he knows that just putting points on the board is what you need to do to win this championship. A second in race 1 in Sepang, a 6th in race 2, and now a 3rd in this second. The winners of our different categories then, Leo Ye, Bob Yuan in Pro-Am, the winner of Am, Reinhold Reinger, and his partner, Alex Liu. In Silver Am, Max Hussein and Ruan Chuan Fun. And the Win Air Harmony Racing of David Chen and Andy Dung, the 96 machine winners of the silver class. That's the silver class first victory for Win Air Harmony Racing. They do look very, very strong combination. Finding themselves at the end just ahead of the Silverram victors, 17 seconds back in 5th position overall. But more crucially, we're able to be faster that Craft Bamboo 77, and in the end, the 45 penalty, success penalty, playing into the hands of those two, so that James Yu also found himself fighting quite a lot in 8th position. Points for Johor Motor Racing, Craft Bamboo in 10th position as well, and just missing out Thierry Vermeulen on his debut in 11th position for the Absolute Corsa Ferrari. In the end, we will see Ben Porter and Andrew McPherson on the podium, but McPherson really struggling in that second stint in the AM race. We lost 6 cars at the end of that one. Can't wait to see what Patrese can do tomorrow in the 55 Winair Harmony Racing Ferrari. The 360 lookout post, an opportunity to spot the waves over the coast. Just over the back of that turn 10 is the sea, is the surfer's paradise that this Lombok Island is. But the 360 hill also the place to be able to see all of this Mandalika International Circuit. And it is open to the public as well. There is no tickets needed to get to that bit of the track. That's part of its sort of street track design that it was once conceptualized for. Here is the highlights then of the first of our races here at a brand new venue, Mandalika. And Frankie Kung Fu Chen led the cars down into turn 1 as he had done in the first round of the championship. Anthony Liu trying to go down the inside of Daniel Frost for P2, but got a little bit of a wiggle on, lost momentum, and in the end dropped back to 4th position with the Winair Harmony Ferrari of David Chen going around the outside of him for 3rd position. Qualifying had been interrupted by a couple of red flags, and it put all kinds of cars out of position. That was not the position that the Climax Racing Mercedes wanted to be, and the first of our safety car for Zhang Yaiqi in heavily into the barriers. The 55 Harmony Racing Ferrari also expired on circuit, which meant we had pit stops under full course yellow conditions. Every single car coming in basically on the same lap. And it did, again, slightly shuffle the pack because pit stops couldn't be made as efficiently as everyone would have liked. Back to green flag racing, and it got very, very frenetic because the pros were in the cars and they were trying their best for the best performance. This nearly ended in disaster for Alessio Piccarello on the grass, but thankfully the grass not that wet and he was able to hold the car in the right direction. But it did allow Dorian Boccolacci to have a little bit of an advantage. Further back, Maxime Hussein finding his way through the pack. The car had started 23rd position, but the BMW eventually finding his way past Akish Nandi and into the head of the Silverram category. Harry King experimenting with all parts of the racetrack in the back of shot. He went down the inside of Akish Nandi at turn 1. Unfortunately, contact between the two of them, and Nandi, who was second in silver, got spun around. At the head of the field, though, easy pickings for Leo Ye and Bob Yuan, taking their second victory in only 3 rounds of this championship so far. A dominant one, you would say. But Leo Ye said he wasn't very fast. He certainly looked fast to everybody else out there. Congratulations to Origin Motorsport. And so to the podiums. And Anthony Liu and Dorian Boccolacci. Overall P3. There's Ralph Aaron and his teammate Mike Joe. And the winners of race 1 in Sepang and race 1 here in Mandalika. A brand new circuit to all. Bob Juan and Leo Ye. And so the trophies then to our top 3 drivers. Looks like some decent champagne on the podium as well to either savour or spray. Still 30 degrees out there. Thankfully, no showers from the sky as yet. And yet another trophy for Dorian Boccolacci to try and fit into his luggage. I think he's off to Australia shortly. As an Asia Pacific driver, has a lot of weekends over here in this part of the world, although still based in France and still racing in Europe too. No points on the board for Ralph Aaron and Mike Joe leaving Sepang, so they'll be super happy to be on the podium and get a decent haul of points. And Ralph holding on to that second position after intense pressure, especially when they took over the kart. We saw a replay of that fracas where Alessio Picarello ending up on the grass. I don't know why I can't say Alessio. It's a really easy name to say. And so the champagne sprays on the Mandalika podium, our overall podium for the 3rd round of the championship of the GT World Challenge Asia, powered by AWS. And it is once again Origin Motorsports, Bob Yuan and Leo Ye who take the victory. So here are the overall standings after 3 rounds, and look at the advantage that Bob Yuan and Leo Ye have over Anthony Yu and Dorian Boccolacci after just 3 races. 19 points. Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, no points on the board for the 99 today, but very impressive to see the silver ram of Team KRC up 4th in the overall point standing. And maybe less impressive, less surprising to see Chen Kongfu and Yu Kuai up 5th there for the silver pairing. But it really has been dominated, really, by 2 Porsches. One from Origin and one from Phantom Global Racing so far this year, but it is only round 3 of a 12-round championship. 6 weekends across 4 different countries. Only one other championship in GT World Challenge races on multiple different countries, with Australia and America only racing in those single countries. And now we have our next podium for the silver class, and Winier Harmony Racing on the top step there. It's pretty well fought, isn't it, silver class? We saw a very strong run from Daniel Frost in the 77 Craft Bamboo. In the end, though, 7 only second. Winier Harmony Racing then getting themselves onto the top step of the silver podium for the first time this year. It always seems as though the favourites, certainly in qualifying, Frankie Cheng and James Yu Kuai, but the problem really was that they were so good in race 2 in Sepang. They had their silver penalty, and then they had their success penalty added to that. Whereas only the other 2 teams had the silver penalty. That's a shame. Poor old David Chen having to spray the champagne on his own. Oh, at least his teammate retaliates. Dong Yi and Weian Chen could be quite mixed up for the point standings of the silvers. Chen Kongfu and Yu Kuai 65 points ahead of Dong Yi and Chen Weian. They are, yeah, a decent points haul ahead of the 77. And let's not forget Uno Racing, who I was expecting Sean Thong to do a lot more, but obviously got himself embroiled in battles and did not progress as fast as he had hoped. Down in 20th overall in the end. So, next podium. A highly competitive podium. But Silveram, in the end, being dominated so far by Ran Kunfan and Maxime Hussein, with 3 victories out of 3 races for them. Everyone else is bickering over second and third. Good to have Kirong Lee and Anders Forbach in second position. They ended up down in 14th spot, and there was a lot of squabbling right at the end of the race around that kind of area. So I imagine that this is probably something that changed really late on. And third in Silveram was the number 13 of Phantom Global Racing's Chris Shear, his team, and his teammate Adley Fong. So their first podium, their first class podium of the season. I guess in part we didn't see too much of the Porsche Center Okazaki number 25. I think they got a penalty actually. And we saw the Absolute Corsa Lamborghini being spun around. They were second on both podiums in Sepang in Malaysia. And whilst that will be investigated, it doesn't prove much consolation. Still second in the championship for Absolute Corsa though, but full maximum points for Maxime Hussein and Ran Chuan Fan, with the Porsche Center Okazaki 35 points. As I say, it's very competitive if you take away the winners in Silveram. Lots of points to lots of different teams. And Team KRC will have another good start tomorrow as well, which doesn't bode so well for those trying to fight. I'm slightly surprised that we didn't see more of Absolute Racing's Daniel Liu and Li Chanyu. But I suppose we did see them off circuit, didn't we, at one point? Here are the AMs. Welcome back to the podium, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. I don't know quite why Andrew McPherson's already got himself spraying. At least he's removed the cork. That's always a bit of a fiddly one. He's obviously feeling hot. So our 3 AM competitors that finished the race. Setuan Santosho, don't forget, the 4th AM entry. That Mercedes with an issue right at the start of the race, retiring after just 2 laps. I wonder what the whether there was any issues with Andrew McPherson's car, because Ben Porter had them up in 15th position at one point. I reckon Andrew maybe slightly feeling the heat Christian Colombo there, the head coach for Ferrara Corsa, alongside his Indonesian compatriot at Garage 75, David Ciptobiantoro. And welcome back to the podium for Alex Liu and Reinhold Renger. Elegant getting on top of their Mercedes in this second race. Clouds continue to gather around this circuit. Champagne sprays on the podium. And let's have a look at the global points. Mercedes 28 ahead of BMW, and they've extended their advantage ahead of the global manufacturer standings, with Porsche in third. And I predicted we might see a Corvette or a Lamborghini in sixth position, but Aston Martin holding on in sixth for the moment. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this first race at a brand new venue, a brand new continent, or country at the very least, for GT World Challenge Asia. Mandalika proving a very, very good racetrack. Make sure you join us tomorrow for race 2, where the pros will start. Have a good one. Bye-bye for now.